I'm Ellen McCauley, and I'm at Pray It Off in Syracuse, New York, and our microphone's broken tonight, so please be patient with us Pray It Offers and lean your ear a little forward and no chatter during the presentation. That would help a great deal. If everyone can look behind your food log, we've started out by putting some vitamins for bone health, and I'm going to encourage you to read that at home. And these are vitamins that you can take in food or over the counter. And I do think that bone health is important no matter what age you are. And I'm very excited to introduce Allison Lawson. Allison is a diet technician with the Onondaga County Department of Adult and Long-Term Care Services, Office for Aging, Nutrition Services. Allison has been with the office for 4 years, and she started a year before me. And she went to NYU, as we all know, is our son's alma mater, so it's a very good school where she got her background in nutrition education. Every year, Allison works so hard on a huge nutrition and health expo for seniors, and many of you have attended that, and if you haven't, we're having one in March of 2019, and there's breakfast, healthy breakfast, there's all kinds of exhibitors. It's very nice. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce Allison, and she's going to go through her presentation. We're going to break it up into 3 segments, and so it will be on the blog for future notice. And I asked her to do a presentation on this topic because I'm 64 years old, and I was told that I have to be careful with what I eat and my vitamins because of my bones. I'm not into an osteoporosis yet, but I could unless I'm careful. And I want to be careful, and I know everyone in the group does. So let's introduce Allison. Come right up. Yay! Allison!
All right, thanks, Ellen. I'd just like to thank Ellen and Bob and everybody else here today for having me at your group. And I'd also like to thank you for doing the pre-test. I know that nobody likes a spontaneous test, but it's no pressure. You don't have to put your name on it. We're going to collect it at the end after we do the post-test. Even though you guys are the ones answering the questions, it's really for me. It's really testing me to see how well I deliver the material. Also, I'm going to do my best to speak up. I don't have a particularly loud voice, but I'm going to try to project. If you can't hear me in the back, just raise your hand and I'll try and do better. So let me know. So the first thing I'd like to do tonight is a posture check. We're going to be talking about bone health. Our spine is very important for bone health and for maintaining balance and preventing falls. So I want everybody to sit in their chair with their feet flat on the floor. We're going to scooch our butt all the way back to the back of our chair. Back straight, shoulders open, chest open. Okay, this is the ideal posture for when you're sitting in a chair. I know that it's a little bit awkward, especially if you're not used to doing it, but it really helps with your spine. And we're just going to see if we can maintain this posture for the duration of the presentation. I'm going to check it at the end, okay? So to get started, I'm going to throw out a statistic at you that I think is pretty significant. Every 20 seconds in this country, someone suffers from a preventable fracture. So that means when I'm here talking to you tonight for an hour, 180 people will have gotten a fracture. So that's pretty significant, right? So we're going to talk tonight about what we can do to keep our bones healthy and prevent fractures, okay? Mm-hmm. So before we can really get into keeping our bones healthy, we need to know what bones are, what they do, and why they're important. So bones are living tissue inside our bodies. They are mostly made up of proteins and minerals. They give structure and shape to our body. They help our body move, walking, picking things up, bending over, all that stuff. And they help protect our vital organs. Okay, so they're super important and we want to keep them as healthy as possible. So throughout our lifetime, our bones go through a process called remodeling. And what that means is our bones are constantly building up and breaking down. All the time, building up, breaking down, building up, breaking down. So because of that, every 7 to 10 years, we have new bones in our body. That means the bones that you have today are different from the bones you had 10, 20, 30 years ago, okay? So in healthy bones, that building up and breaking down process is balanced. That means that bones are building up just as quickly as they're breaking down. So that's a really good thing. In unhealthy bones, that process is unbalanced. So that means our bones are not building up as fast as they're being broken down. So that can lead to osteoporosis. How many people here have osteoporosis or know somebody who has osteoporosis? Okay, so quite a few. It's pretty common, and we're going to talk about what it is and how to prevent it, okay? So throughout our lifetime, like I said, our bones are constantly going through this remodeling process. So when we're young, our bones are building up really quickly. We're going through a rapid bone building phase. Then once we hit age 30, it plateaus. So we reach our peak bone mass at age 30, okay? And then it kind of stays steady for a while. And then once we hit age 50, it starts to decline. And it declines a lot faster in women. And that has to do with hormonal changes relating to menopause. So women are at a much higher risk for osteoporosis than men are. Men are still at risk, and once they hit about age 70, they start to decline faster as well. But that means for women, we've got a good 20 years that we're declining a lot faster than men. So we have to be really careful about what we're putting in our bodies and maintaining our bone health. So during around the 5 years where menopause starts, women can lose 25 to 30% of their bone mass. So that's a significant amount. Now when we start to lose bone mass, this leaves our bones weak and fragile and can lead to osteoporosis. There is a slide in your packet called Osteoporosis is a Disease. It looks like this. It shows a normal healthy bone and then a bone with osteoporosis. So if you look at that, you can really see the difference, and you can see how much a bone with osteoporosis is at higher risk for breaking or fracturing. So when the skeleton loses mineral density, the structure becomes thin and unable to take normal weight, and that makes your bones break easily. Okay, so just a few minutes ago I talked about how every 20 seconds there's a preventable fracture. That means that there's about 2 million fractures in this country every year. That is more than breast cancer, heart attacks, and strokes combined. So it's incredibly common to have a bone fracture. Osteoporosis and fractures are very serious and common, and there are certain things that we can change and certain things that we cannot change when it comes to our risk for developing osteoporosis and getting fractures. So the things that we cannot change, first of all, are gender. So like I said, women are at higher risk. 80% of people with osteoporosis are women. We cannot change our genes. So if your parents or grandparents had osteoporosis, you are at higher risk. We can't change our age, so the older we get, the higher our risk goes up. Fracture history. So if you had a fracture previously, you are at a higher risk for getting another fracture in your lifetime. Medical conditions. There are certain medical conditions that people have that can affect their bone health, and there are also medications that can affect your bone health. So there are 2 slides that I have in here. One is conditions that cause bone loss, and the other is medications that cause bone loss. I'm not going to go through all of these. There's quite a few. I just wanted to give you an idea of how many things can affect your bone health. So if you have any of these conditions, or if you take any of these medications, and you have never discussed your bone health with your doctor, I recommend that you do so. All right?
Allison, do you mind
Yep.
talking about the disordered eating, though? What does that mean?
So that would be like anorexia or bulimia. So any issue that, you know, if you're binging and purging with bulimia, or if you're not taking in enough calories or enough nutrients because you have anorexia, you're not getting those nutrients that are good for bone health. So that bumps up your risk.
And how about the diabetes type 2? How does that affect your bones?
Well, diabetes is, both 1 and 2 are very complicated disorders. Diabetes actually has an impact on just about every system in your body. So it increases your risk for osteoporosis, heart disease, high blood pressure, and then obesity goes hand in hand with diabetes as well. So diabetes, it just puts a lot of stress on your body, and that can cause issues with your bones. Yep.
We're going to stop there, Allison.
Okay.